that weed. Come on. Oh, this one's going a bit. See, it's coming. Come on, keep out that weed. Oh, and a bolt for freedom. Let's have you. Lovely. Hey. There we go. Lovely summer tench on the float. Nice little male. Great fun. Well, summer seems to have arrived. After the longest, coldest spring known to man, we've finally got some good weather. And what says summer more than a day's float fishing for tench? Fantastic. I do quite a bit of tench fishing through the spring, but one thing I rarely do is get a float out. I tend to be fishing 2 or 3 rods on bite alarms, casting feeders out into a big gravel pit for big fish. And yeah, that's probably the better method for the bigger fish, because you do need to spend a lot of time to catch those. But there can't be anything more fun than watching one of these things disappear under the surface as the mist rolls off the water. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, yep, whoa. Oh, get out the weed, come on. Oh, that's going, come on. Oh, it's in the weed, come on, keep that pressure on. That's it, turned it. Whoa. In the weed again. No, we're moving it, come on. Oh, this one's pulling. Let's get an angle on it, come on. It's amazing how much pressure you can put on with 4-pound uplink on a float rod. Come on. It's turning some water over. That's a nice fish. As soon as you put that chopped worm in, it just turns them back on again. Oh well. That's summer fishing. That's a better one. How's that? Is there anything better than catching tench on a traditional float in the summer? Beautiful fish. Well, venue choice today is Dishley Pool on the outskirts of Loughborough, run by Loughborough Soar Angling Society. It's a cheap club ticket, or you can come and fish on a day ticket if you buy one in advance. Quite a weedy lake normally, and I live very locally, which is always an advantage. This year's not too bad with the weed, but it's patchy. So my first, considering I fished this lake for quite a few years, I've never actually fished it for tench, but I thought we'd give it a go. So the first thing I did was I came and did a bit of a recce. I've had a walk around a couple of times in the last week or so, got an idea of where I thought might be decent for, for a bit of float fishing, and looked at the busy swims really. My plan was, because I only live 3 or 4 miles up the road, I was going to come down the night before the session and just put a little bit of bait in. And the last thing I wanted to do was go into a swim which I thought someone else would be in the next morning and waste my time pre-baiting. So I selected a couple of areas, and I came down last night and just put a little bit of ground bait out at float range, marked my distance, and made sure I was fishing in a clean area. Just dragged a hook through and got an idea that the bottom was fairly clear and it wasn't causing me any problems with light line. So I did that, put some bait out, and as you do, you get a bit excited. And I was going to get down at maybe 6 o'clock, but I couldn't sleep, so I was here at first light at the crack of 4:30 this morning. My tactics have been basically to fish the float. I've got about 5 feet of water out in front of me, shelving back up to 4 feet, and then really shallow between a couple of quite extensive reed beds on the side here, which I knew I'd got to be careful with. If I hook a fish and it goes through those, I was in trouble. So I didn't want to go too light, but again, they're not massive fish in here, so I needed to get bites. So I've gone in with a 4-pound hook link to a size 12 all-rounder, and I've got 2 bait choices. I know that there's a lot of rudd in here, small rudd, so straight to our discounted maggot. I didn't think that was going to be the way to go. So I've got some sweet corn and I've got some dendrobinas. Tench love both. Dendrobinas are my first choice after maggot, really. So with my ground bait that I put in last night, I had a little bit of hemp in there and a few chopped worms, and as soon as I got here this morning, I put another couple of balls of ground bait in. I'm using Sonny Baits Super Crush Green and hemp and Halley Crush, just with a few little samples of sweet corn in there, just as a fleck, but I don't want to overfeed it. The ground bait's going to be the attractor, and I'm just going to have a few hook baits as a sample, but I don't want those. I want my hook bait to stand out. And again, I dropped some chopped worm in when I got here this morning, just to activate the swim, really. Straight away on the first cast, the rudd were kind of swirling at the hook bait, and I thought that's going to be a bit of an issue. I was fishing with a bulk shot around the waggler, and just with a number 4 telltale shot 4 inches above the hook. So after 3 or 4 casts, it became obvious that I needed to change that a bit. So I dropped down a bulk of my shot to probably 18 inches above the hook, just to try and bomb it down through those surface layers and get through the rudd, because they're mostly in the upper layers. Once it got down, if the floater settled and it gone through the rudd, I was okay. So that worked, and it was quite slow for a start, and I was starting to think I'd perhaps got it wrong in swim choice or something. But when it's your first time on a venue, you don't really know, do you? It's a bit of a leap of faith. So after probably about an hour and a half or so, I got my first bite and hit into something fairly substantial, and a bream popped up, which I didn't really know got to that size in here, but it's still a nice bonus fish. And then it started, really, and it's been quite relentless since. It's been great sport on the float, and I think we've had half a dozen tench in no time at all. It's been great fun, and definitely something I'll do more of. Much as I love my feeder fishing for the tench, you can't beat watching a float go under, can you? Oh, in again. We've got them on the boil. This feels like a smaller fish, I think. Catching that many, it's ripping the weed up. The swim looks absolutely trashed. Come out those reeds, come out those reeds, come out those reeds, go on. It's non-stop action this morning on the float. Great fun. Well, in quite a snaggy swim like this, I've got quite extensive reed beds either side going out into the water, and there's a lot of weed out in the lake, and combined with hard fighting tench, you need a bit of grunt. So I'm using a 13-foot glide float rod, lots of welly in there, nice soft rod, but if you need the backbone, it's got it. And that's combined with 6-pound feeder line. I'm using a light hook link, but that's got the power to land any of the fish in here. The reason I've chose feeder line over the glide mono is because feeder line sinks, and I'm fishing a bottom end only float here with a bit of toe in the water and a little bit of wind drift. To hold your float in position, you need to be sinking that line. So get your rods up under the water, give it a couple of turns, pull the float back to your baited spot with a line under the surface. Oh, we're in again. Oh, yeah. Bionic. It's a baby. Ooh. A little bar of soap. There we go, that's the last one of the morning. Beautiful fish. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and get yourself out there float fishing for tench.